Welcome to Tim's Vinyl Confessions. I'm Tim Durling. Thank you for tuning in for another episode. On this one, I go through my Bryan Adams vinyl collection. Now, I haven't got a lot of vinyl to talk about. I have a few things here, but I've kind of supplemented it with a few other items. Basically, anything that isn't a CD. I went over my Bryan Adams CD collection in an earlier episode. Anytime you want to look up a certain artist to see if I've done them, just type in Tim's Vinyl Confessions and the artist. And if you see one that either you don't, if you type in an artist and you don't see it, either I just haven't got to it yet or I'm just not a fan. This is about the stuff that I'm into. So this is my Bryan Adams vinyl collection. Start off with his very first album from 1980 on A&M Records. Now this copy obviously came from either a record store or a radio station because it's got that hole through it. Right there, there it is. It's a Canadian copy originally. And the record itself, A&M were very, very good at wanting you to protect your records. There's info here on how to protect your records. And this one, very thick. There's plastic inside of this too. The record itself has the old A&M logo they were using at the time. The print on this is kind of oldish looking. I wonder if this isn't an original pressing with the SP4800 serial number. I'm tending to think that it might be. I also have a single that came off of this album. It says Give Me Your Love. Came complete with a little spacer in the middle there. And the B-side is called Don't Turn Me Away. That song never made one of Bryan Adams' albums, and he and Jim Vallance just pumped out the songs. He still does to this day. Always more songs than an album will hold, and I don't think this has ever appeared on a CD version, and I believe some other artists have recorded that as well. Next up, 1981, his second album, You Want It, You Got It. Now this copy I have here is an American copy, and it's sealed. It looks like it's a Columbia House too. It's a CRC on it, down there in the corner. This is a sealed copy of his second album. I found this in Portland when Marley and I went to Portland. That's in one of our earlier road trip episodes. This again on A&M Records. I also have a cassette version of this to show you. Thanks to my buddy Matt for picking this up. This is quite an old copy. You can tell by the writing on here. Canadian copy. And that's what the tape looked like. Breakthrough album, of course, 1983. When he first appeared on most people's radar, Cuts Like a Knife. Back cover, this is a Canadian copy. On this one he used the Adams logo, you get it? This is a good album, really, really good album. Thinking this might be some sort of reissue because it's got the A&M price code on there. I never did understand what those price codes meant. Same sleeve as was in his first album, the protective sleeve with the plastic, and this has a custom logo with the Adam logo on it here. Also have a curiosity. You might not think of Bryan Adams as being an artist of the 8-track era, yet here it is. This is Cuts Like a Knife on 8-track. This is a US Columbia House version, which is all there would have been. The Record Club versions that and RCA. Was really, really happy to find this. It's got this usual wear and tear on it, but still. It's Bryan Adams 8-track. And got a cassette to show you. Now, I've mentioned this before. I hated it when A&M did this. They did this with Y&T's Black Tiger 2 in Canada. It just has the artist written on the side, not the title. So when I picked this up quick, I thought I was getting his first album. It's okay, I didn't have this, but I only did that in Canada. Kind of annoying. Now, Cuts Like a Knife, of course, was the breakthrough, but, you know, the big album was Reckless. And here it is. This was a very, very popular album. I know my generation, this is where we started to buy his stuff in earnest. This is a Canadian copy, again on A&M Records. I think everything I have here to show you pretty much is on A&M. Great album, worth picking up in any configuration, but I highly recommend the 30th anniversary edition that came out on CD. So there's the lyrics and credits. And what I think is cool about Bryan Adams, he's always had photos of his band members. He's a solo artist, but he's always given props to his band members. Not to mention Jim Vallance. I mean, how many people put their co-songwriters, guys that don't even play instruments on their album? This has a customized logo, or label, as you might expect for such a big album. And the second of my 2 Bryan Adams 8-tracks here. This one's a lot of wear here on the front, but still, I think it's cool having albums like this, iconic 80s albums that I first picked up on cassette on 8-track. This is, again, is the US Columbia House version. Those aren't the only 2, but they're the only 2 that I've ever been able to find. And this is a US copy of Reckless. It does say Reckless there in the bottom corner. That's what the tape itself looks like. And it doesn't have lyrics, it's just give each all the songs and who played on each of them. This is where you learn things like Steve Smith from Journey played drums on Heaven, Lou Gramm sang background vocals on She's Only Happy When She's Dancing. Things like that. And one more thing from the Reckless era to show you. I don't know if you'd call this a cassette single or an EP. This is Diana. Now, Diana was a song that was written for the Reckless sessions. It's a tongue-in-cheek song about the late Princess Diana, and it was actually the subject of some controversy, which is kind of ridiculous. It's a fun song if you've never heard it, very much in the vein of Something Like Somebody or Cuts Like a Knife. And so A&M in Canada put this cassette out. Also contains Summer of '69 and the Bryan Adam mix on side 2, which is just a mashup of a bunch of his songs. Now the song Diana, if you want it on CD, I think the only way you can get it is to get like the Japanese version of Reckless. He did not put it on the 30th anniversary. It's not a song he revisits anymore for whatever reason. Next thing to show you is the album that followed up, Reckless, which had the misfortune of following up such a multi-million selling album, but still a very good album in its own right. And I'm talking about 1987's Into the Fire. This is the Canadian version. By anyone else's standards, this album was a success, but in the music business, if it doesn't sell as much as your last, it's considered a bit of a flop. So this, even though this probably sold 3 million copies, about half of what Reckless sold, but a fine album. And honestly, if you like Bryan Adams, you're just familiar with the radio songs, and you're looking for something different to listen to that sounds like that, but you haven't heard it a million times, check this album out. Heat of the Night was the big song off of this one. It's also got Hearts on Fire, another favorite of mine. Wasn't as big a single, but lyrically it was a little bit different. Approach he went on this album. If you've ever heard his song Remembrance Day, that came from this. And pretty elaborate sleeve here. Again, featuring the band members. Here's all the lyrics. There's a picture of him with Jim Vallance. This was the last album for a few years that Jim Vallance had a hand in co-writing. Of course, he switched it up, started working with Mutt Lange. Record's not in the greatest of shape, could use a little cleaning. Customized logo here. And I have a single from this. I mentioned the biggest known song. One of my favorites from him is Heat of the Night. Here's a picture sleeve. This is a US picture sleeve. It's got the lyrics to the song here. It's also got Another Day on the B-side. Bryan Adams is one of those artists, if you see singles by him, check out the B-side. It might be something that you don't have. It could be different, something that didn't appear on an album. That's what the A&M singles and albums looked like at the time. And there's the other side there. Skipping quite a ways ahead. I don't have like Waking Up the Neighbors or anything like that on vinyl. Those ones are very, very expensive. I have a DVD to show you. The first time I ever saw Bryan Adams in concert was in Moncton in January of 2000. And on this tour was the Best of Me tour. It was very unique what he did. He played bass, and it was just Keith Scott on guitar, Mickey Curry on drums. Just a three-piece, no piano, no keyboards, no second guitar, except for songs where Bryan would come out just with an acoustic guitar and then Keith Scott would come out. But it was a unique idea, and the songs really didn't suffer too much from it. I mean, yeah, you miss some of the keyboard parts that you're used to hearing, the piano parts, but they really pulled it off quite well. And later that year, he did shows at the Budokan in Japan. It was commemorated on this DVD. It's just called live at Budokan. This was recorded in June of 2000, so 6 months or 5 months after I saw him. Similar set list, but not exactly the same. There's a few songs that are different. I remember one thing that's on here that I do remember seeing, oddly enough, was the song Remember, which is the opening track from his first album. Was glad to see that stuff get some traction. And fairly extensive booklet. Sometimes some DVDs don't. There's a lot of photos in here and information about the songs, like songwriting credits. And the one last thing I've got to show you came out in 2017. There's been quite a few Bryan Adams compilations, obviously. This is the most recent. It's called Ultimate. And this is a version that I ordered from Amazon, and they did a crappy job, but I didn't. Yeah, anyway, whatever. I gotta be more careful. So, this is a 2-record set. It's just one CD. It says made in France. So this one's not on A&M Records. It's actually on Polydor. It's all the same. It's all Universal now. And of course, if anyone's been following, Sarah and I saw him earlier this year in Moncton, and it was an incredible show. I recommend you check out that video. There's lots of clips from it. He sounds amazing in concert still. So there you go. That's my Bryan Adams vinyl collection, plus a few extras. Thanks for watching Tim's Vinyl Confessions.